Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Charity Charge Show. Today, I am joined by Skylar Badenoch. He is the CEO for Hope for Haiti, and I'm excited to learn more about the work that they're doing out in the Caribbean and the lives that they're transforming every single day. Skylar, thanks for coming on.
Grace, thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, tell me a little bit more about. Just give me a snapshot into the organization Hope for Haiti.
Yeah, well, Hope for Haiti, we've been around for more than 35 years, and our focus is to improve the quality of life of children, parents, and grandparents in southern Haiti, but also with a specific focus on women and children. And so our work is really rooted in four key programmatic areas that we support: education, healthcare, access to clean water, sanitation and hygiene support, and then economic development. We do that by resourcing, empowering an incredibly dynamic team of Haitian professionals in Haiti: doctors, nurses, educators, administrators, great logisticians who carry out the work every single day
Amazing.
and make incredible impact in the lives of the people we work to support.
That's incredible, and I'm excited to jump into the programs within your organization. But I know that you yourself have a personal history with the region. I know that you've been involved in Haiti and the surrounding countries of the Caribbean since 2006. Tell me a little bit more about your background in the region and kind of what got you involved in this line of work.
Yeah, well, I mean, it really started for me as a Peace Corps volunteer in West Africa,
Wow.
where
Okay.
I worked in a rural, remote community as a water sanitation volunteer for almost 2 years, and that became my foundation for this line of work. I was really curious and interested in the idea of how we can use and align resources to help support the economic and social development of individuals who are living and struggling with poverty. And so that really got me started in the work. And then I went to graduate school at the George Washington University for international development. I got my first job out of grad school at an organization called Build On,
Mm,
building schools. And my first assignment was to go help establish a school construction program for Build On in Haiti.
amazing.
And so I knew a couple people there who were working there, but the job just afforded me a lot of responsibility and autonomy. And so I got to choose where we set up shop and where we started building schools and which communities to partner with and who to hire and which team members to bring on and really serve the mission of this beautiful organization Build On. And that's what we did in 2006. We started building schools in like little fishing villages on the coast in the southern peninsula of Haiti, and that's really how I got my start working in Haiti. Was
That is
just
amazing.
on the ground, carrying rocks, carrying sand, digging the foundation of schools, really being in the mission, like hands on in the mission. And in some ways, there was no place I would rather be during that time in my life. My career was right there, building schools side by side, parents, so that they can improve access to education for their kids.
And as you've kind of grown into these roles and these organizations, how has it been transitioning from being that boots on the ground person to supporting it at more of an organizational level? Do you miss it? I'm
Well,
sure
it's
there's a part
interesting
of
you
it that
asked
you
that
know.
question because I was just in Haiti for the last 8 days, and I
Okay.
always miss it. And I make a point to go back at least once a quarter for a number of reasons. One, to be in solidarity and be side by
Mm,
side my colleagues who are incredible, doctors and nurses, and they're out there running mobile clinics and supporting water sanitation and hygiene and access to clean water and economic development. So I get to be with my colleagues and drive through the mountains and go and walk into a home and visit a mom who's sending her kids to school for the first time, or see a water filtration system that families are using to prevent waterborne illness. So I always feel like it's necessary for me to be as close to the work as possible during certain periods of the year because it connects me, it grounds me, it inspires me, it helps me bring back stories, it motivates me, it drives me. Like, fundraising and going out there and asking donors to support the work we're doing in a place like Haiti is really hard. But when I'm fresh off the plane, it feels a little bit more effortless. Like I have the
amazing.
story,
Yeah.
I have the connection, I have this motivation and drive pushing me forward because I've just seen how important the work can be not just to our team in Haiti, but to the families and the communities and the teachers and the partners. And so, yeah, being there in Haiti with our team is so critically important to the work we do. And look, it's not easy to get there. And a lot of people will
Yeah.
say, like, it's not safe. And
Mm.
my truth is it is. It is safe because we don't go to the areas that are being heavily impacted by some very horrific things right now, gang
Yeah,
violence and
gang violence I know is just it's
it and
displaced
that's
1.3 million people, I just read, I think,
it's
on your site.
crippled. Yes,
Yeah.
it's crippled part of the country and it also dominates the narrative. It dominates the narrative.
Mm.
Let's say Port-au-Prince is a city of 4 million people in a country of 11 or 12 million people. That means that's a percentage of people who are really going through an incredibly hard time. But it doesn't tell the other side of the story of the kids that are just going to school, the
That's
parents,
amazing.
the street vendor who's out there every day selling their food, which I also enjoy eating. So,
Of course.
I'm eating street food, there's a name for it in Haiti. Shenjambe is like part of what I do. I can't get enough of it. So every single day I'm out there, I
That's
feel
the
like
real
it's my.
reason you're back there every
It
quarter.
is. It definitely drives some of it. Like there's not just one reason. There's a nuanced. There's a
Of course.
multi-dimensional force that's bringing me to Haiti, and food is part of it for sure. Um,
Definitely.
but yeah, and so we're fortunate to really work and operate in an area that's not as affected by the violence, and so our team's able to carry out 200 patient consultations every single day at our infirmary. We're
Wow.
able to go out into the rural areas and do medical mobile clinics, provide access to medication for people, and including our partners who are who see this as a lifeline. We're able to support teachers and their professional development so they can provide better education to the kids. That work is still happening in parallel to the really tragic and unacceptable situation in Port-au-Prince.
Course. And you mentioned narratives, and I'd love to dive into that. As a CEO, and you're the voice of your organization. You're the voice to the donors. You're the voice to your organization itself. How do you see your responsibility in bringing that narrative to your base to get them, excited about the work you're doing, and also do that in parallel to the tragedies that are happening in the.
Yeah, and I'm so that's a great question, and I love that you asked it that way, because I have a little bit of a different approach in a different mindset, and I believe I am one voice of many, and if and sure, my job title gives me a certain voice, but I think it's so important that the heroes of our story, of the Hope for Haiti story, are like the doctor who just saw a
Mm,
patient or the logistics team member who figured out a way to get life-saving medication like insulin around the gang held areas into the hands of a type 1 diabetic. Like, so me, I'm like, my role is to make sure that the voice is adequately balanced or even more like imbalanced towards my colleagues in the field
amazing. Yeah.
because they should tell their story. To me, they're like I'm inspired by them. So I can only imagine that our donors are inspired by the story of our healthcare workers or who are on our team, my colleagues, or I mean, I even say even our I'm a little biased, but like even our accountants are heroes in this story, right? Because
Yeah.
no, I'm serious because they gotta account for every single dollar we use
Of
to
course.
to make sure that
The
trust is
transparency, the accountability for the
yeah.
donors.
And so we
100%.
give we make sure that there's a voice of our finance team, that they have a voice in sharing why their work is important. And to me, it creates a stronger narrative and a more complex narrative around, oh, Haiti's a really violent place and nothing can be done and the poverty is just, and it's just and that's not the case. So we gotta make sure we're coming at it from all different angles and providing a platform for our colleagues to tell their story. And so as CEO, I feel like that's
100%.
my job is to like step back and why don't we let why don't we let Nhera, who's an amazing wash technician, tell his story? Or why don't we have Yvette, who's my colleague who brings in she's responsible for a program that brings in $30 million worth of high value medication. Like, tell her story. Like that's a
100%.
huge impact. And so I personally feel proud when I hear those stories and when that resonates with a donor, because I just believe that's the way it should be, that it's empowering and it gives people that autonomous feel like they're part of this organization that's bigger than themselves. So we know the narrative is Haiti's just a bad place and there's all these things that are wrong with it. But the reality is there are so many things that are beautiful about this country. Um, and there's a role for us to play, all of us. And my role is
100%.
to mostly to help with the narrative, but also to align the resources. Like let's get the resources into the hand of our colleagues so they can do the good work they do.
And I want to jump into that resources here in a moment, but I'd like to jump in. So, within this nonprofit space, that mission aligned personality is oftentimes the people that are working in the space. That's the difference between working within, a nonprofit organization versus, being in the corporate world. What about your background is it that you believe allows you to be a voice that amplifies the people within your organization and the communities that you're supporting? Because I know that there's people out there listening that are like, I wish my boss had this mentality. What lessons have you learned, and what have you implemented within your role to enable that to be seen?
Well, I think a couple things. The first is that experience for me has always been a driver of my passion and of my commitment. And so I've had the opportunity to experience many things. I would say a spectrum of emotions and experiences in Haiti, ranging from the 2010 earthquake, which was one of the most devastating natural disasters in the history of the world, and I was there for it, to the inauguration of a school, to seeing a newborn, to seeing somebody who received life-saving medication for their kids, and or to sharing a meal with somebody, or to having friends and seeing them succeed in their careers. So that experience, I bring all of that with me, and that's a lot of that is driving my passion and commitment to the work that we do. The second is, and this is a fundamental belief, I operate and I feel this in the core of my being, that when others in our organization succeed, it feels like my success.
Mm.
I don't know if that's a personal trait, if that's something, but like when a colleague does well and they're promoted, or a colleague does so well that they go out and be a CEO of another organization, that feels good to me. I
To
I
take that
I
win.
I take it's a win.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, or a partner
Mm.
because we did something together. Maybe we did something together with a partner and they get the big donation, but we don't. I'm like, that's a win for what we're all trying to do.
Which is
And I don't I
empowering
don't
Haiti. Yeah.
yeah, and I don't know if it's just a personality trait. I haven't really thought too deeply about it, or just what the way that I've kind of decided to accept the world and the world that I want to live in, and how I want to be. But I certainly feel like when you feel like somebody else's success is your success, good things happen to you ultimately, because it just it's sometimes the way the universe works. And it sounds a little like woo woo, but man, I've seen it just play out so many times over and over and over again. And so having that mentality has really helped. And then I think going back to the third thing is just really being able to put put feet on the ground where the work is and hear the stories of people, so that we can come back and help share their stories about why a donor should donate their money to the work that's being done, and why it's important. Um, and so I think those things sort of help drive the culture and help really level set our mindset when we think about, you know, how our organization should work and should operate.
100%. And I think that's a common point of successful nonprofit leaders is that they have a moment throughout the year where they are boots on the ground. They are seeing the mission, they are seeing the impact, because that's the whole reason you're in a nonprofit space is for that mission. And whenever you become insulated from it and you're not seeing it with your own eyes, it's that's what the whole point of the organization is, and that's the difference, between being in the nonprofit space and that for-profit. So I think that
Well
is,
said. Well
I think
said.
that's a common point that I've heard from all of these conversations with nonprofit leaders. So I love that you pointed that out.
Yeah, and I think, if you were to like, if you're like, "Hey, give me the name of a person who's been" like, choose one out of however
Yeah.
many,
What's
and I
let's
could
hear it. Give
tell
me
you.
a story. Give me
And
give me a
if you
story that stands out to you.
Yeah, I mean, that you gotta have that. You gotta have that. So, I have one, you want it?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Yes, I mean, this is easy because I was just in Haiti 8 days ago, and it spans my entire career. It built with in Haiti. So, when I was working at Build On, it was our second school that we broke ground on in 2007, and it was in a rural community. And in this community, it was called Ravine Sob. And in Ravine Sob, they didn't have a classroom that was suitable for learning. It was no walls, dirt floor, tin roof,
Mm.
leaked, and they had about 300 kids in the school. And with Build On, we're
Wow.
like, "Hey, we're gonna partner with this community. We're gonna build the first ever classroom block in this community." And the community, the way it works is community participates. They bring in the rocks, the sand, the gravel. They work. They dig the foundation. They help lay the bricks. They actually help build the school for their kids and the parent and the teachers. And what's also beautiful about this is a Build On contributes like the cement, the skilled labor. So it's a really good school. And so my first day on that work site, when we laid the first, we like did the ceremonial like cornerstone. I met a mom, and her name is Leila Guillaume, and I met her, and we connected,
And
and
this
I
is back
asked
in
her why.
2007.
Yep, yep,
Okay.
back in 2007. Met her, we connected. I asked her why she was building the school. She's like, "My daughter here, Janice, is gonna go to this school, so I'm gonna do my part." So I met Janice too. She was 12 at the time. That school only went up to 5th grade. Fast forward to last week. I didn't plan on going there. I just kinda had a morning open. I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna go back and retrace my steps a little bit, see how that school is, and just check in." And Hope for Haiti, by the way, this is an important, uh, part of it, is that Hope for Haiti partnered with Build On to help build 18 classrooms. So, not just the 3, there's 18 classrooms. Hope for Haiti now runs programs there. Build On runs programs there as well. And, um,
In this
and when
community
in this
specifically.
community, in this
Yes.
specific community. And so I went to go just be there and set foot in a place that I spent a lot of time, and I know some of the people, and I've spent the night over there many nights. It's a symbol for me of an important commitment. And I walked in, and guess what? There was Leela, and she was there, and I said hi. I gave her a hug, and I was like, "How's Janice?" Because we've had this relationship over many years. Janice graduated from high school because the school went up to high school, and then she got a college scholarship from Hope for Haiti and went to college, and then
Amazing.
got a job as an agronomist for another organization. And I was like, "Where's Janice?" She's like, "Janice is over there." I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" So we ended up connecting. I saw Janice, and I'm like, "What's going on?" She just had a baby. She's working. She's got a job. And "What?" I'm like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "I'm just waiting for a taxi. I can't find a taxi to take me to work." I'm like, "Guess what? We're going
The
back to
taxi.
town.
Yeah.
We're gonna take you. We're gonna commute, together to your work." And that was such a moment for me that,
Full
Leela,
circle.
the mom, Janice, the student, all the work that went into help providing this school, and it just reinforced one really
Mm.
important idea. We are not saving we out there to save people like Janice. We are there to provide opportunity so people like Janice and moms like Leela can like take that opportunity and do great things with their lives, and that's why we're doing this work. And I needed to be there for some reason. I just needed to be there, and I didn't plan. I just randomly showed up. It wasn't on my trip schedule at all. I'm like, let's go. And all these things kind of this story came into place, and the people just reminded me that this is what the work is about. It's about generational change because this is almost a 20-year story, right? And sometimes we think, oh yeah, well, like
There's a
if I give
grandchild on the way, you know?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, if I donate today, is it gonna make that immediate impact? And maybe the answer is sometimes, but oftentimes it's like if we can walk side by side communities, and if we can walk side by side families, not give things away, but just help continuously unlock opportunity over a generation, that's where real change happens. That's where we talk about poverty start being eliminated. And
Mhm.
so it was an important moment for me to be there. Genies is just one story of many, but certainly one that's top of mind today and is often top of mind for me. When people ask about Haiti.
Well, that's an amazing story, and
Yeah.
it shows you, how important the work is that, both the organizations are that you're doing, and the foundations that were laid, in 2007. The fact that it was able to expand over this time, it started out just as a, elementary school, and now all the way to through high school, and then Hope for Haiti then has the collegiate support too. So it's this full, ecosystem of support that, has been created.
And this school went through Hurricane Matthew, which is one of the hugest hurricanes that hit directly on the school. School's still standing. And uh, the earthquake of 2021, which is a huge earthquake in the
Oh,
southern region that really compromised a lot of buildings. That first block out of scratch. It was pretty cool
that's amazing.
to be able to look back at it and be like, that one, like it's just a tank of a school. And it looks great.
That's incredible. And earlier today, you kind of mentioned that your your role both is that one of sharing stories, but then also allocating resources. And I
Mm.
know you mentioned that your mentality is to spotlight the people of your organization and give them voices. And Hope for Haiti, the resources have followed. Since you stepped in 2017, the organization, it's doubled in terms of its size and impact. So there must be something about that that does work and it does equate. And tell me a little bit more about that growth.
I'm laughing in a way because I think part of it is just stepping out of the way and making sure people
And
are
not
have the
mess anything up.
autonomy. Yeah, well, that's funny. When I first started, we had a board member, a very important board member, and we had gotten to this level, and then we were making an important transition, and I was coming on as the new CEO, and the board member like took me out to lunch, really important to the organization. She's like, and I'll just say, I'll say it nicely because she didn't use the nicest word. She goes, the other thing, the really important thing is you don't mess it up. She said it a different way, and you
Yeah,
can imagine what she said, but she said, "Don't mess it up." And I took that to heart. I was gonna have a T-shirt made or like a hat, like "Don't mess it up" T-shirt, but
yeah.
like
That's
in
your
her
motto.
words. Yeah. And that's part of it. And then part of it is to make sure you have people on the team who are, um, great leaders and smart individuals and creatives who can solve their own problems and then get out of the way. Like
100%.
that's kind of been part of I'd say my mindset that is I think has helped our organization grow is to provide people with the opportunity to do good in the organization, make their own footprint. So that's first. And then part of the growth is really just, it's building on the foundation of somebody who came before. Our former CEO, who is the granddaughter of our founder, and she was a board chair later. She left things in such a beautiful, like, she really hand delivered this great organization to me and then guided me for a few years as board chair and then stepped away as a really, as a she's still involved, of course, but,
Well,
like,
I'm sure on
not
the
in that way.
donation level too and on the funding. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, her family founded the organization, her
of
grandma
course.
founded, so she's involved, but the way that they handed that off like for me, if I were to say like, oh, look what I did during my time, but really, you gotta give credit to the people who like she set me up in such a way where we could grow, where we did have the ability to make some adjustments,
I'm sure there's
and
many nonprofit leaders that are very jealous listening to the way that you're
uh,
revealing the story of how it came
yeah,
to
yeah,
be. Yeah,
because it's not that way with founder or founding families. There's like a little tension. It doesn't work out. And, with the Keener family and Tiffany and her, I mean, they should write a book about this, about how they transitioned. And by the way, we're still trying our best not to mess it up. Like that
yeah.
still sticks in it.
That's still the motto.
We could be, you know, flush with resources and firing on all cylinders. And sometimes organizations do, and we have. We had a tough year last year, and we're fighting to get back to it. Back to our levels, which we will. But like we could be, and still we would have that mentality that it could be gone tomorrow if we don't continue to do the right things and maintain the same principles that our organization was founded on, and build on what other people have done. We can't get complacent with it. So
100%.
um, it's a really, and it's an honor to have the responsibility to help guide and direct and lead and be part of the team.
There's so much I want to dive in on that. The first one I want to kind of touch on, staffing. Nonprofits are in this constant competition in getting good people that are aligned with the mission, and on top of that, educated and able to do that good work, because oftentimes nonprofits are not able to compete on a salary level, with corporations. So how have you seen that dynamic play within your organization? How do you keep good talent? How do you allow that talent to flourish? And as you mentioned, how do you celebrate whenever someone that is integral to your team, goes on to do good things elsewhere? And
Yeah.
how do you, fill that gap?
Well, I think there's a couple things. I think having a people call it a bench, like having a deep bench of leaders is really important, and making sure there's cross training happening so
Okay.
that if somebody leaves, I prefer usually to, if we can, if somebody, leaves the organization, to hire from within, because you have the institutional memory, you have people who've worked together, you've kind of have this working relationship. That to me is oftentimes a lot easier. And so I think it's just developing, talented leaders over time, and I think that's shown. We currently have people on our team who've been with the organization for more than 10 years.
And I
Um,
assume have grown in their role in the organization over that
oh
time as
yeah,
well.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Like our chief development officer came in as like she was an entry level position, in our development shop. I think she's grown over the years. Our COO, Meg Jean-Louis, she started off in Haiti, doing a lot of like M&E work and
Mm,
communications work. And, she's the type of leader who's grown into having the ability to run an organization. Um, and that goes for a lot of people within our organization. The person who runs our gift and kind program at Ebb started off, I think she started off as I might get this wrong, but in like admin before I was even there. Our CFO, same thing. Our CFO was not our CFO. And so I think providing job growth, I do believe that we should pay north of fair if we can. And so our salaries, I would say, are competitive. We try to get within the 75th percentile in our salary offerings.
amazing. Yeah.
Um, and so there's salary studies that are done. We look at it and we're like, okay, are we in the 75th percentile? If we are, I think we're competitive. And then there's the other things, right? Are we flexible with our time? I think that's such an important thing these days.
Culture side of it.
Culture side.
Yeah.
Sometimes culture keeps people, like I always say, like there's really three things. I say this because this is how I think. Like there are three things that are most important to me. It's what I'm doing. Like, is it purpose driven? And this is just for me. Who am I doing it with? Do I enjoy the people who I'm doing it with?
Of
And does
course.
their success feel like my success? And vice versa too, right? Like you want it to be reciprocal, and then salary. And I think that that's an important consideration. And to say that it's not,
It's a
you know,
job.
it's
Yeah.
a job. Yeah, we're out here also making a living. And so I think that's a really important. Those are three important things for me, and I think a lot of people would resonate with that.
And then in terms of an organization, right? So it's amazing you have that view, you have that mentality. How do you make sure that the organization is also subscribing to that mentality, and that your managers within the organization and the staff from the top all the way to the bottom, they believe in that, they trust you, that you're going to hire from within, and that all three of those things are met for and encouraged by the managers at all levels.
Yeah. Well, I think there's proof in action there.
Mm,
Like if we say it, that's one thing. But if we do it, you can really say, well, guess what? Like this is what we want to do, and we actually did it. That's then that becomes the culture. Um, and I think that's not to say, look, teams go through. I think teams always go through ups and downs. You're working a lot together. There's tension. It happens. But having the ability to talk it through and trust and then get back to the work and resolve the tension is really important. I had a conversation with a colleague the other day. It wasn't a great conversation. It was tense and we weren't seeing eye to eye on some things. Finally, I said, "Look, no more email. We're not going to email back and forth about this. We're not in the same city." I'm like, "We're going to get on the phone. We're going to talk it out." And within like 10 minutes, it was like washed. It was done, and it felt like we were in a better place. Um, and so just continuously, working to 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 create the culture and keep the culture because it can also go away. We can say it, we can act it, and then tomorrow it could change if we're
Every
not.
single day,
Yeah,
subscribing to it and doing it.
and that's the hard part because sometimes it doesn't happen and sometimes it does. I think the key is to just be as consistent as possible. And
I love that.
when you're consistent,
That's what builds that
then
trust.
that's going to build the trust.
Yeah,
And you might mess up. You might screw it up one day, and or you might screw it up in a week.
but then
But
they
if you
trust you to make it
get back
right
to the yeah,
and get
get
back
back
to
to
it.
the consistent, building of culture, empowering others, um, doing it. I just like collaboration is one of our core values. And so, you know, we're working on an initiative right now to connect groups and individuals and donors to the communities, the 24 communities that we partner with. And the idea is like, let's make a more personal connection between the communities and our donors. And one of my colleagues, who's sort of new to the organization, she's been there for about a year, is leading it, and we've asked her to lead it and I just believe, I'm like, "You're not gonna do it alone. Like, let's do it together." And so, we drafted all the collateral materials, we spent a lot of time on it, and now we're going out and basically pitching this to people. And this morning I was on a call with her and a donor said yes. And they were like, "We're in.
Let's
We're in for
go.
$10,000 for this community next year." And our intention is to do it for a long time so we can achieve that generational impact. And to me,
Incredible.
it was us doing it together, not me saying, "Okay, you do this, peace out." Like
Yeah,
that, I don't like that. And
that
so,
support. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well,
And
well,
it's,
you stole my next question. I was about to
oh,
ask.
I did.
Collaboration is at the heart of nonprofit work, and I assume specifically within your organization in Haiti overall. You're involved in two organizations that are doing incredible work within Haiti, and you've also had this boots on the ground impact in building collaboration with the community leaders that are in Haiti itself. How have you seen collaboration play a role within, your journey through the nonprofit space and also, going forward within your organization? And I know you've already kind of partially answered it.
Yeah.
You
Well,
stole it from me.
I think that's interesting because there's a lot of different types of collaboration that can happen. But I just start with first, it is a core value, and we take our core values so seriously. And there isn't almost a program that we have that doesn't involve multi-stakeholder collaboration. So if it's healthcare, we have 60 different healthcare partners that are operating in Haiti. That's a lot. And that's just the partners who provide healthcare and how we collaborate with them. It's also internal collaboration, like how our team works together. We have donors that we collaborate with all the time, either in-kind donors or the donors that want to create impact together in a specific area. We might have somebody who's like, we want to do breast and cervical cancer screenings. We want to do 10,000. And then we collaborate with them on what's possible and how our team of doctors and nurses can provide that kind of support through their philanthropic efforts. And so the collaboration piece is so critical. It doesn't always work out the way you hope. We've had some organizations that we collaborate so well together. We're doing one right now, a beautiful collaboration with an organization called the Dalton Foundation. And they operate in some similar ways that we do. They bring in valuable medication and medical supplies into Haiti and they get it into the hands of patients and healthcare facilities. And they do it mostly in the northern part of the country, whereas we do it in the southern part. And so we've been collaborating with the CEO of the Dalton Foundation in a joint fundraising initiative to raise $2 million between our two organizations so that then we can take that $2 million and import donated medication to the tune of $200 million. And that collaboration is beautiful because it's trust, it's mutual values, and we absolutely like we believe in each other, and our success feels like their success, and their success
Yeah.
feels like our success. And that's
And
the
how
type
easy
of
of a pitch is
collaboration that
that,
happens.
we're gonna 100x the
Yeah,
value of your donation. It's like
yeah,
you give us $2,000, we're gonna provide 100 times that value to
that's right.
our community.
And then we're lifting each other up. It doesn't always like and what I've learned and I've kind of processed is that sometimes it doesn't work and it doesn't
Yeah,
for
tell me a little
it
more, like, give me maybe you
well,
don't
I
have to
can give you an
name an
example without
example, but
naming names.
yeah.
Yeah, but this is a good one. It's top of mind. There was another organization that was working in Haiti, and some one of the leaders like wants you to like collaborate with us, and we've kind of like established ourselves. We have standard operating procedures. We're best in class in finance, and they're not. And so they're like, okay, well, we want you to help us, figure this out. And I'm like, absolutely. Like, I'm in. I'm in. And so we came up with this idea for them, and I was like, let's come up with that idea. We're going to do a joint event. And it's going to be a great event. It's going to be during this time. We're going to raise. I think we're going to raise. We could easily raise between 300 and $500,000 if we do it right. Right. And they're like, "We're in." And so I, like, drafted this document. I'm like, drafted this whole document, like, "Here's how we're gonna do it." I laid it out and, and, like, we're gonna this is the date we're gonna do it on, and, here's the roles that we're gonna play. And they're like, "Cool, this looks great. Let's meet on Monday." We meet on Monday, and they're like, "Yeah, so we looked over the document, and we think we could do this by ourselves, so we're just gonna do it by ourselves." And I was like, "Oh," I was like, that felt I mean, at the time, I was like, "Oh, that," because it's just like, that's not my value set, and it felt like they had just,
Stabbed you in the back.
a little bit, more like um, they didn't live up to what I had hoped they would because I think we would have done I personally thought we would have really done amazing work together, and there's impact on the line. Like, when the impact is on the line, I'm like, that's when I take it to heart, and it took me a couple days to, like, get over it and move on. And and then another opportunity came forward, and I was like, "Ooh, should I be more careful this time?"
Mm.
And in my head, I was like, "Yeah, I should probably not give up so much of my, like."
Intellect and yeah,
Yeah,
work. Yeah.
yeah. And and then I sat on it. I was like, "Nah, like, that's not how you wanna operate. Like, you trust this partner. The other one didn't work out, for different reasons. But like, what if our collective impact is
Is
what we
1,000,000
hope?
instead. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so I can't shy away from figuring out a way to. Yeah, it was hard for a moment, and now it's gone. It's like washed over, and it feels good. Yeah,
Is there well, I'd love to jump into a bit of talk about funding, right? So you mentioned it sounds like events is one way that you really prescribe to in terms of raising money for your organization and others in the space. What are some of the key lessons that you've learned, in the 20 years, 20 plus years that you've been, running in these organizations?
yeah. It's not the same for everyone in every organization because I think there's some uniqueness to
Of course,
each organization's
and
mission.
everyone's mission.
However,
Yeah.
yeah, right. But what I've also found is that there are a couple things that really help when you're fundraising. And one is being relationship driven, of course, because some of the best relationships that you make that are authentic and like they lead you to incredible philanthropy that leads to impact, that leads to extra years of education or a mom getting antibiotics for the first time for her kids
Impact.
or that impact. So that's important. But the diversification of revenue, I see it as an important part of any organization's growth because if you are uh, overly reliant on big donors like USAID, and then USAID goes away,
Yeah.
chances are you are no longer relevant in the space.
Yeah.
And or you're in a very, very precarious situation where the work you're trying to do goes away. The impact that you're trying to have is not possible. And so I think diversification of revenue. So what we've done that as an organization. So we rely on individual donors who sign up and give $50 a month. We rely on our core donors who, support us either as, 10,000 or $50,000 a year. We rely on institutional grants, like from founders like the Kellogg Foundation who support our
Mm.
education programs. We rely on special events because we know that they are a really good way to build a pipeline of new donors. And we believe that it's not about what you raise during the event as much as it is what you
The
raise
audience
after.
you're reaching. Right. Yeah.
Totally, totally. And
Amazing.
and there's a new donor who comes to our event, is inspired, and then lifetime becomes a $200,000 donor over the course of their time.
I would
That's
love
what we're doing.
I would love to dive into that a little bit because we've had a couple of people on here that they joke about the nonprofit gala and this idea that having an event more mission aligned, they've seen a lot of positive impacts in that. And I think that maybe speaks closely to kind of what you're getting at because if you're having a mission aligned event, you're attracting an audience that connects more closely with your mission, and they're going to turn into maybe a lifetime donor, a lifetime volunteer, someone that supports the work and mission of your organization. So walk me through one, do you have any pushback against that, idea of the gala, or having it more mission aligned? Like, what are your thoughts on
I think there's some because people are like, well, we're not, the ROI isn't or the money, the revenue from the gala isn't what we hoped it would be. And that happens sometimes. But if we look back 5 years, and I'll go back, um, I'll go back 4 years. We had a gala and we honored we had two honorees, and they were important honorees to our organization.
that?
And we were in a room together and we told them why it was important. We showcased our work and we used it as a way to steward that donor and to continue to steward that donor. And I think it's an important
I
part.
like that idea a lot. Yeah.
And guess what? Both both of those donors made major, major commitments this year to support our work. And so I think it's a part of this.
That time horizon, right?
Yeah, like multi-year, multi-year. And so that's important to me. We had a donor that we honored that they hadn't donated in 4 years, and this year they came back. And they're like, "All right, we're back. We're considering." And so those are just really. I just think you got to put your flag in the ground somewhere, build community, and and even like so we have this event in Arizona that we did last year. We're doing it again this year.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a wine event. We're basically moving Napa Valley, some of the best wineries in Napa Valley and Sonoma to Scottsdale, Arizona, and they're going to pour wine for us. They're on their own dime. They're flying in and they're pouring wine for us, and they're doing various wine dinners, and they're doing it so that we can also raise money to support the healthcare work at Hope for Haiti. And one might say we don't really have a base of supporters here, but we will if we keep doing these events and 400 or 500 people show up and we have the right people in the room to meet and steward and cultivate and share the impact that's being made. Because I think people want that and they
Mm.
crave that. And so it's again, it's really just it's a great way to funnel people into your organization so that they can get to know you. It's our job then to like follow up, share impact, communicate what's been done. Not, hey, next year we're going to reach out like a couple months before the gala, the next event, and hope you're going to come. But like, no, we're going to invite you out to lunch, go to dinner, go to coffee. We're going to send you a video of what your donation and support for the event actually did. And that I think
Follow
that
through.
mentality has always ended up helping us and serving our organization's mission.
That's incredible. I was about to ask, so you mentioned that diversification of revenue for a nonprofit organization is so important, especially within a time period like we are in right now, where there's so much uncertainty within general funding. How are you communicating and your organization? How are y'all communicating that message and that story of your nonprofit to the donors of all levels? How is it different, in terms of making sure that the needs are met of your reoccurring, $5 a month donors to your, ones that are being honored at galas.
Yeah,
What does
I mean,
that
I
what does
think
that
that's
difference in
important
messaging
when
look like?
it's good important we have a good CRM and people who are using it, and we're becoming more sophisticated. We use Salesforce, to make sure, but, I think it's also developing the type of collaterals for donors,
Mm,
and having the team in place to communicate. Great example, we got a crypto we take cryptocurrency as a form of donation, and that's been something we've been doing for a long time, and it's crypto and blockchain has been, really good for Hope for Haiti, and not only for our fundraising, but for our programs too. And so we just got a $5,000 stablecoin donation through our partners in on the platform that we use, the Giving Block. And now it's our turn to steward that donor. And so we'll provide that donor with some very important information, not just about impact, but how crypto and blockchain is making a difference in Hope for Haiti's programs in southern Haiti. And so
and
that's
that
very
connects directly with that donor because obviously if they're using it as the
yep,
donation platform itself, well, this is gonna get them bought in because we're meeting them where they're at. 100%. I love that.
yep, exactly. And so we might have other donors who are like big into water. And so, when I'm out in the field, I might, you know, get some content for them about what their support for our water program means and what it looks like. Um, and so that kind of segmentation I think happens when you have a good CRM and you can kind of you can do some segmentation of donors. You can see like, okay, who went to the wine event last year and who donated at what level. And then we know, okay, top 10 donors, I'm going to reach out to. I'm going to call them on the phone, let them know, hey, we need you back here. Here's what we did last year. So there's a
Get them
plan in
bought in.
place for, yeah,
100%.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
amazing. I love it. Well, as we look to the rest of the year, I know you have this event coming up in Scottsdale. What is your vision for the organization? What are you looking to get towards? What are kind of your aspirations right now?
yeah. So we have a couple big things coming up. One is we got to fund our budget. This year we've got a $4 million budget that will allow us to do the work that we intend and want to do, make the impact that we've set out to make. So that's what we're going to do. Not only that, we got to bring in another $30 million in donated medication and do all the logistics on it. And so that is a huge focus of our. That is the now. And there's a fierce urgency of now in the nonprofit space. You got to fund the budget. Looking
100%.
forward and ahead and many years ahead, we are also simultaneously working on a project to build a new healthcare campus in southern Haiti in a disaster preparedness facility that will treat and provide access to healthcare for 100,000 patients plus every single year. Patients with hypertension and diabetes and asthma, women who are coming in for breast and cervical cancer screenings, children who are in need of diabetes meds, type 1 diabetics who need insulin. And so this campus is a really big initiative for our organization. There's a lot at stake for us to be able to get it right. And we're going to be calling on some of our bigger institutional donors and some of our largest supporters to help make this a reality.
Is incredible. And I want to, and it sounds like the impact that you're making in the now, right now, obviously, is incredibly important. And the aspirations that you're driving towards, it's going to make that, 3 generations from now, that impact.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
is incredible. And I want to end on, the final note, to our nonprofit audience out there. What is a piece of advice you'd like, to leave planet in their mind as we come to the end of the show?
I would say this um, donor trust and donor relationships is to us and to many organizations the fundamental backbone of an organization's ability to do good work. Um, we oftentimes say at Hope for Haiti, given the resources, we can do just about anything we want to do that's in line with our mission. And so I think just for any organization, set yourself up so that you're building that donor trust, have the systems in place so that, your audits, your 990s, all that stuff that is definitely not as sexy is taken care of so that then you can focus on the good work that you do and really invest in those systems. Because they'll have good ROI and they'll get you moving in the right direction and definitely they will They will help facilitate growth and trust and make you better as an organization. So invest in those things.
Incredible. Well, Skylar, thank you so much for coming on and sharing more about your work, your background in the space, and just more about the stories and community of Haiti. And I've learned so much, and I hope that our nonprofit audience out there has gleaned some lessons from the way that you carry yourself in your role and the role of storytelling in the nonprofit space. And thank you for coming on our show.
Thank you so much, Grayson. And look, we want to hear from people, so they can reach out to me directly, connect with me on LinkedIn and or on any social media, or just email me, Skylar at hopeforhaiti.com. And I love talking shop and helping add value to the work that others are doing.
Amazing. Thank you for coming on.